Sunday, the 18th of August, 2025. And in today's show, we just about catch our breath to recall Blackpool's humdinger of a Roses clash at a cauldroness Bloomfield Road as 10-man Blackpool overcame Huddersfield to record our first win and points of the campaign, which finally gets our season up and running. And what a way to do it. I'm John Aspinall. This is Seaside's podcast, match reaction show. Blackpool 3, Huddersfield Town 2. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Seaside's podcast. And as Mountain King HK has just said, there should be more of an upbeat today. Certainly will be. Matt and Tim are on. No, Brad unfortunately can't make it. But Tim, talk us through your prediction of 4-0 to Huddersfield Town.
Before we get to that, what adjective did you use for the game? Cauldroness.
Cauldroness.
I think I have to get the thesaurus out on that one.
Is it actually a word?
I don't know yet. Which program is it where they actually have to go and check? Is it
countdown, isn't it?
Countdown, yeah.
Dictionary corner. Yeah, that's the one.
We need Susie Dent to look it up.
So one of the viewers can do that while I talk through my disastrous prediction. Am I bottom of the leaderboard?
Let's bring them up. I've made a graphic with our predictions on, actually. There you go. That's from our new predictions league that we're running for patrons. If you want to join up, patreon.com/seasiderspod. Custom built predictions league. We're all playing it. Down the list. Brad got it spot on 3-2. That's why he's not on today. He's hungover from spending all his winnings. Nick did 2-1. The Grice Reap 3-1 Huddersfield. Raggy 3-0 to Huddersfield. Me 3-1 to Huddersfield. Matt, you were a bit more tempered, 1-1.
I got more optimistic as the beer went down, and I did this about 2:45, I think.
Nil point, unfortunately. Mitch said 2-2. Tim, 0-4. But a mitigating factor in your case, Tim, is that we were all of the same mindset at that time, weren't they?
I genuinely could not see where we were going to get the result from on Saturday, and I was slightly jaundiced by my experience at Exeter. To be fair, I was. So I think watching that in the flesh sort of did have a big influence on the thought process. And how wrong could I be? Just like I was wrong the previous week where I thought we were going to batter Exeter. So, I'm more than happy to eat humble pie, show my arse in Burton's window for those of a certain vintage, and whatever else is required in penance.
Jaundiced. That's another good one. I think that echo was coming from Tim's mic, actually, Matt.
Oh, yeah, apologies. Technical difficulties yet again.
Viewers, listeners, you wouldn't believe the amount of kerfuffle that happens behind the scenes before every one of these episodes. And it's always one person. And it ain't Matt. It definitely ain't me.
I'm sat here with a MacBook, an iPad, 2 lots of iPod speakers, and none of them work. I blame the software.
Used to work in IT. User error is normally the cause. And RTFM.
Blaming his tools. Dear, oh dear.
Right, on with the show then. Happily, a much more positive place after, I think I described it as a humdinger in the intro. And it certainly was. And this is how we lined up. Peacock Farrell in net, Brown at right back, Ihekweo, Casey, centre halves, Coulson at left back, Lee Evans, thankfully, George Honeyman in the middle, Tom Bloxham in his natural position on the right wing, CJ on the left, and now Ennis and Fletcher up front. Matt more or less picked itself, but great to see Honeyman back in his correct position. What difference he made.
Although when the team was announced, it took a while to sort of work out what was going to happen, really, because obviously I think most of us have probably expected Lyons to be in at right back, and then obviously the Brown was sort of shoehorned in there in the last game, but it's still, even with Honeyman in the middle, which hopefully was going to be the case, it just didn't look right almost. But we're still trying to put a couple of square pegs in round holes. But as I said on the previous pod, I just had an inkling that Hamilton was going to play ahead of whoever else we selected on that particular night. He's a bit more tried and tested, so I wasn't surprised to see him come back in. And then it's just the usual 4-4-2, and everyone knows that that's what we're playing. We don't seem to vary it at all. So yeah, it was just trying to get your head around a Brown sticking in at right back for a starter, really.
Tim, Bradley Peacock foul maintained in net. I think Steve Bruce has nailed his colours to the mast with his pick of keepers, and no surprises really. He didn't change it.
No, I think he is, and a manager who sticks by a player when they're having a rough time. If they believe in him, if they believe that he's the number one, then you've got to respect that, haven't you? Obviously, we'll go on to talk about how things panned out during the game with him. But I think I also endorse what Matt says. I was a bit frustrated when I first saw the team. I didn't listen, and again, I'm going to eat humble pie as the game goes on, but I didn't think I was surprised Brown got chosen to play out of position yet again when we had a right back who could have started. I was also quite surprised Fletcher started. I thought we might have had a bit of a gamble on Taylor. But good to see Honeyman playing where he should be. I still think almost this team at the moment sort of lends itself more to 4-3-3 than 4-4-2. But if we're going to stick with the system, that does mean slotting players into positions they might not be that comfortable with. And it was a bit harsh on Lyons, I thought. But if he's playing somebody out of position in his position when he's fit, you're going to be a bit cheesed off as a player, aren't you? But I think, as we spoke about in the last pod, both him and Coulson are probably more naturally wing backs in it with three centre backs behind them. So maybe Bruce thought he could take a chance on one, but not both.
It probably also looked, when I think about it, he probably looked back at last season where we had a fire in at right back who wasn't a natural right back, but he was obviously a bit more solid, and maybe that's half the issue that we had at Exeter, wasn't it? Really, that we just had no solidity, and maybe you thought that Brown just had a little bit more muscle, whereas Lyons is relatively lightweight, isn't he? I suppose.
Yeah. I think it was ironic that Brown and Coulson were up there with the pick of the crop in the game, but we'll come on to that as we go through the show. So moving on to the actual game itself, Tim, the game started like we started against Stevenage, a very early goal, but at the wrong end against us 3 or 4 minutes in, and the ball's trickling into the back of the net. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it's it was a fairly innocuous build-up, wasn't it? They were sort of just pushing the ball around. We didn't start well, did we, as a team? It looked in that first 5 minutes like a continuation of Exeter, and to a lesser degree Stevenage. We didn't play quite as badly against Stevenage, but I was quite concerned because they look well on top, but they were just playing around the edge of our area, and then we see this sort of quite a weak shot come in. I think it does take a deflection, but I think what the concerning, or particularly from a player who's not covered himself in glory so far, the way that Peacock Farrell, they almost seem to watch it go in, and even belatedly didn't make any attempt to go for it. But from where I was, it didn't look like there was that much of a deflection, but others have suggested it was a wicked one. But
I was quite interested in getting your opinion on that, Tim, because obviously I sit to the kind of the right of the goal, more or less on the edge of the 18. You're right in the middle, aren't you? And Matt, you've probably got a better vantage point than me. So
yeah, but I didn't think it wasn't like, if there was a deflection, it wasn't a huge deflection, was it? Or it didn't look like it was a huge deflection. In which case, you're thinking, what can this goes back a little bit to? I don't want to have too much of a go at the guy, but this goes back to some of the observations that have been made previously. He's quite unorthodox the way that he goes about things, and I would have expected most keepers to at least have had a bit of a go at trying to get at it. But he just seemed to. He obviously was shocked where it ended up. I think he thought it was going well wide. I don't think it was to do with the deflection itself. I generally think he thought it wasn't on target. But he just seemed to watch it, and he watched it for quite a while. You know, almost in slow motion.
Yeah, Matt, Penny, for your thoughts on this. Sometimes when you're playing sport, your mind wants your body to do something, and sometimes the body just refuses. Was it one of those kind of instances, or did it get such a wicked deflection it's completely wrong-footed him and he's put his weight on one side?
And maybe I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I sit probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 rows behind Tim, so our angle was sort of similar, albeit mine a bit more elevated. And I say stand these days, don't I? Cracky. And it just looked like real sort of slow motion. And one of the things that might be a Peacock Farrell issue is that he doesn't seem to be particularly light on his feet. You know, he seems to sort of be rooted and then belatedly make a move. At least that's all we've seen so far in the 4 games that he's played for us. And you do wonder then, you know, if he's got a little bit more sort of dancing feet about him, he might be able to move a little bit closer to the ball, quite frankly. But it was just so weird because there's not an angle yet that I've seen from, like, I mean, obviously we don't have 20 cameras around the ground like Championship and Premiership do. But I haven't seen anything where, you know, it shows a real massive deflection. It just seems to just sort of spin off a chest or a thigh or whatever it was and not really divert that much. But you look at the players, our reactions, our defenders, and they didn't sort of like berate him or anything like that. So maybe it was just completely out of his reach and they were just accepting of it. And they, you know, it was a bit, like you say, a bit of an extension.
Come on, but most keepers, even if a ball's going wide, you'll see a keeper.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Go to try and save it just to be on the safe side, don't they? I mean, he does it. We're jumping ahead, but he does it in the second half when there's a shot coming up against him. He dives for that. I think it's early in the game. Maybe he's not quite focused. I don't know, but I don't think. I just generally think he thought it was going wide and thought I don't need to go for it. And whether it span in, I don't know. But it was like there was like this collective shock when it went in because you think because of his body language, you're thinking, well, it must be going wide because he's not even trying to go for it. And then all of a sudden it's plump, it's hit the back of the net. So
yeah, it was very strange. It really was. I just can't, I mean, I'm trying to sort of, in a weird way, sort of defend him in a way for his lack of mobility. So it could only have taken a really weird deflection that just absolutely.
I think we can defend him on the second. We'll come to...
Yeah, well, exactly.
Well, yeah. I was listening to Radio Lanks in the car afterwards, so I'll keep my powder dry on that one, as you say, Tim. You're quite interested to hear what I heard. So, gents, who else had a sense of foreboding when that went in? A potential cricket score on the card. Tim, you're putting your hand up.
Yeah, well, I thought I'd been overly generous with 4-0 at that point. I thought I genuinely feared for the worst. Then. I thought we were looking at a cricket score. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't think I was the only one either. Because again, if you're comparing it with the way we played at Exeter, who lost to Mansfield, didn't they, on Saturday at home? If you're looking at that, and then you're looking at Huddersfield, who are top of the league, they've obviously bought big. They're the biggest spenders of the division. You know, all the augurs were against us, weren't they? You know, you're thinking can you see a way back from this? And it was, you know, well, it's sort of like it justified my prediction at a minimum. And I thinking, Jesus, with 3 minutes in, 4 minutes in, and we're already one down. It's like it's going to be a long game. This.
You were rubbing your hands already. Think I've got 4-0 that nobody else has got.
You know, we jokingly do these predictions, but listen, you know, we all go there wanting to see us succeed, don't we? And it's the last, you know, thinking, fuck it out, you know, particularly after what we'd seen on the Tuesday night and what we'd seen at Exeter and what we seen at Stevenage. It's not what we want, you know, and you know, it's it was. But I'm just looking at it and I'm thinking, where do we go from here? You know, what is going to happen to change this, turn this around, and no doubt the next segment is talking about what turns it around, and what an incredible 25 minutes it was.
Now, Ennis was the man that turned it around, Matt, on unlucky for some 13, not unlucky for Blackpool, not unlucky for Ennis, particularly that bounce over the donkey keeper's head. You were a former centre half. I bet you were laughing your head off at that.
Well, you know, we just talked about our conceding a goal. Maybe there was like, I don't know, there's some sort of bias in the ball or something that no one had ever spotted, because it was just bizarre, wasn't
green
it?
ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like an old tango ball or something that you used to have. One of those ones you used to kick
Flyways,
kick it and it go like that. You know, it was bizarre, wasn't it? So it sort of, you know, just a random sort of bounce, and it went about 15 foot over the guy's head. And I mean, fair play to Ennis. He latched onto it, and you know, you were just thinking, well, he's only going to go one direction now, and even his finish ended up like in a weird bobbly sort of tango-esque manner, didn't it? So yeah, it was again a bit of a strange sort of goal all round, really. But you know, to get back on level terms so quick was just what we obviously needed, because like you say, for, you know, the 4th minute or whatever it was that we conceded, up until that particular point, you know, we were just all thinking it was going to be 0, 5, 6, 7, whatever it could have been, you know. So yeah, fair play to him for obviously sticking it away. We know he's a good finisher, whether it comes off his arse or he bangs it in a bit more cleanly. You do feel confident when he's in that sort of situation with Ennis, don't you? I think he's a good striker, and I'm glad he's ours, that's for sure.
I think he admitted, didn't he, that he said it on. I was watching the bit where they're in the change rooms afterwards, and he said that it came off his heel or something. I think he acknowledged he mishit it. But if you actually look at the move, I mean, there's a Huddersfield defender or midfielder who makes the error. It's a skewed attempt at kicking the ball further forward that spins back, that then spins over. I think it was Watmore's head, wasn't it? So there was we look at our own issues and our own qualities, and then you've got Huddersfield making a double faux pas on the way that puts Ennis through. Ennis has still got a lot to do. He's still got to drive down that left, and he's got to get there. And sometimes the scuff shot is the one that sneaks in because the keeper's not expecting it to be scuffed.
It's a tight angle he was at as well, and you've got to get it precision into the far corner, or else it's not going.
When you watch it back,
it's weird. It was just weird the way
it looks really weird, doesn't it? Because it seems to like jump up the ball and then completely wrong, and so completely flummox the keeper. But if they hit the back of the net, that'll do for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I was going to say one thing that I noticed on the. I didn't notice in the game. Obviously, I didn't notice it in the game. I saw it on the replays. That after he scored, Ennis was sort of wheeling away towards the away fans. Not deliberate. I think that was just the way he sort of went, and he did like a little wave. Did you see that?
Yeah. He just waved.
So funny.
Saw that, yeah.
Oh dear, I hope he does that to every away fan.
Quality. the most polite goading of an away end you're ever likely to see.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
Oh, I know the reason why it went in so strangely. James Dyson, right behind the strike in the family stand. It wasn't going in. It was defo got deflection. James, you sure it wasn't one of your hoovers that sucked it in, which made it take that strange trajectory into the back of the goal, perhaps? I'm sure you've never heard that joke before, James.
Yeah, it's like me and Doctor Who, isn't it? Christ almighty. Yeah, it depends what angle you're at, doesn't it? You know, because I just never looked like a deflection. Couldn't really tell on the replays either. But if you sat in that particular area of the south, no doubt, yeah, you get to see it.
Just a quick shout out to Rob Chancer. Came all the way from Oz. He's in our Patreon group. Had a drink with Big Dog. So big up, Rob. What a game to go to. Okay, 1-1. And a man who's coming for a bit of stick amongst all Blackpool Sporting quarters answered that criticism in the perfect way. Fabulous strike, but also the build-up was sublime, Tim.
Well, just before we get to the build-up, the guy stands now next to me was telling me that the 5 minutes beforehand that Evans is the worst player ever to put on a Blackpool shirt. And I thought, going back to the 1980s, I'm not quite
Who said
sure
that? Who said that?
Who generally said that? So he'd had a few.
Jesus. Ridiculous.
So I just humoured him. And anyway, and then we pick up with what happens. I think we'd had Brown had a throw in, hadn't he? And Evans picks up a loose ball and great 1-2 with Fletch, and then hits an Exeter missile. It's what we've been wanting him to do for ages, isn't it? You always think, why don't you, shoot? And if you do shoot, it because a number of times he hits a shot and it goes over the bar, takes a free kick, goes over the bar, hit the target. I mean, it couldn't have been a better strike, to be fair to Evans, could it? And don't think the keeper had the slightest chance of getting that one. It was an absolutely fantastic finish, and I'm pleased for him because he has taken, like Peacock Brown, he's taken quite a bit of stick, not just from the guy next to me, but from a lot of people about his performances, not just this season, but also in the second half of last season. And hopefully he'll do his confidence a load of good. But we were in like fantasy land at this point, weren't we? Because again, literally 10 minutes earlier, we were all looking down the barrel of a gun thinking we're going to get battered. And all of a sudden, we find ourselves 2-1 up and very much in the ascendancy.
And we thought we were in dreamland being 2-1 up. Matt soon became 3. Not long after it. Talk us through it. Sorry, it was Ennis' second, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was, I think it originally was it a free kick? I think originally, and then it sort of got half cleared, and Honeyman sort of poked his
prod assist. I've put
prod assist. Yeah, they were good, weren't they? I love them. God rest Keith Flint's soul. It was right place, right time, isn't he? That's what he does. He's not tied a little finish, wasn't it? Really, because I think the keeper probably thought he was going to hit it a little bit more, fuller, and he just slotted it away nicely and wheeled away. And like you say, from 1-0 down to 3-1 up in, I don't know what minute was that? Was that 20 odd 30?
25.
25th minute. It was mental, and the game could have been. I mean, anything at this particular point. Predictions. What chance have you got? It's great.
I've got to say one thing. It was a free kick, if you remember rightly. If you remember the winning of the free kick, Bloxham, there was a good little interchange down the right, and Bloxham basically threw himself into a challenge to keep the ball in play rather than this, which most people let it run out, wouldn't they? And as he throws it, he does a full dive, pulls the ball back, hooks the ball back from the line, gets fouled in the process, that wins as a free kick. I think the ball comes in, it's sort of a bit of a header, it's cleared, and then Evans puts it back in, and Honeyman really put his body on the line as well to get to that ball. And we'll go on no doubt to talk about his second half performance, but he showed up because it was no mistake. It ended up at Ennis's feet. That it was deliberate. It was cushioned, and he came out of that with a bit of a scar. Not literal, but a figurative scar because he got clattered in the process. And that's what you want to see from your creative midfielders, isn't it? Not be scared to go in where it hurts. And he went in there, won the ball, and gave Ennis a fantastic opportunity that he took. You know, proper striker's goal as well.
He's so
that
cool, isn't he? He's so cool in those one-on-one situations. He just keeps his cool and slots
very
it
natural,
in.
isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's often not something you can teach, that stone cold nihiliness. Right, 3-1, Dreamland. But it wouldn't be Blackpool, would it, if they didn't put us through the rigour? And 6 minutes later, another easily, what's the word? Was easily defendable chance on multiple occasions. It's gone out to their left. Was it a foul on Brown? If you remember, there was an appeal.
It looked like it, didn't it? It looked like a foul all day long to me. And when you compare it with some of the other fouls, in inverted commas, that were given at various points during the game, I'm thinking particularly the one where Evans jumps up and heads the ball what looked like cleanly, and he got pulled up for it. And you look at that and you think that's got to be a foul. Brown wasn't going. It's not like we've got, you know, not like Jordan Gabriel playing right back, is it? Where he goes down at every frigging opportunity. Brown wasn't going down for anything, and he went down there, and people's hands went up. Play on. Ball comes across. I think Alfie May completely fucking scuffs his shot, and it ends up. Who did it end up going to? It was
Gooch.
Gooch, wasn't it? And this is where I'm going to. I know. Because I want to talk in a minute about what happened in the immediate aftermath of that goal. But he slams the ball into the roof of the net, and I personally don't think that Peacock Farrell can be criticised for that, because I think as a keeper you're going to cover the low shot, and he did make an attempt to save that one. He just didn't get it, but it was an incredibly direct finish. Lots of power right into the roof of the net. That's my take on it.
Matt,
so I think you have another one, John.
I'll just bring Matt in first. I'll tell you what I heard. Defensive errors from Ihekweo and CJ for me in this build-up. Ihekweo just stood there with his arm up, waiting for the whistle. You play to the whistle, and CJ just letting that ball bobble through to Gooch. It was an easily preventable goal.
There was two or three of them that were probably equally, culpable of not just putting a foot in, and they could have slid in and just conceded a corner or whatever. And it just seemed to be a little bit half-hearted, half-arsed, really. And like I say, when the ball came over, it was a decent strike. But my thought, and I don't know whether this is where you're going to go, John, but I thought at the time, and I know we've already given him a hard time this year already, but Peacock Farrell made an initial half attempt to close down, like Schmeichel would sort of come out and do the old starfish or whatever. And it was like he had a second thought, and he just stayed pretty much where he was. He made a yard or two to go over, obviously, but I just wondered if he'd have gone out fully committed, it probably wouldn't have made much difference, if any, because it was a right good strike. But I just thought, is that again another occasion where he's just not 100% confident in his own ability yet, and maybe we'll see something different, hopefully, as the season progresses. Not that I don't think it would have made much difference, but it was just another thing that if you're a striker and you see somebody coming at you who's 6'5" or whatever, at least it's in their eye line, isn't it? And it might make them scuff the shot or whatever. But yeah, I think there was a lot of problems before that actually happened, really.
Yeah, just everyone in the comments, just let us know what you thought of that goal. Could it have been stopped? What I said at the time was no keeper in the world stopping that shot. It was an absolute thunder bastard into the roof of the net. From his position, I don't think any keeper's going to save that. I thought it was incredibly harsh. Some people saying, Tony saying he's ducked under it. And my first thought he didn't stand a chance from powerful range. But Bro Omrod was who I heard on the radio, and he was very critical of Peacock Farrell. He says it should have been saved. He's put an arm out. He said you should be saving those sort of shots. I personally thought I was quite harsh. it went that quick that you've got to have more than cat-like reactions to get something on that. And even if you get anything on it, the power's going to take it in, isn't it? It's going to break your arm almost on the way in.
I just think Brett's wrong on that one. I did.
And
listen, he's like the rest of us. He's in a stadium. He's not necessarily getting. I don't think they get playback stuff to do. They're very limited, and I just think he's wrong. I'll criticise him on the first, but not the second.
Yeah. Wilson, not on Brado Lanks. Brett's just said he should have saved it. Dave Coleman, I don't think Brett's seen a replay when he said that. And I was right behind it as well because we were at that angle. And I was like, Christ almighty, that nearly broke the net. So, yeah, I think that's the general consensus anyway. So, a bit harsh on him there. Old Peacock Farrell. So, 3-2.
What you do have then is which is I can't remember the last time, if at all, I've heard this, was quite a lot of booing of Peacock Farrell on that second goal. Now, it wasn't everybody. It was, I would say, it was about maybe 10% in the north. It was maybe 10%, but it was most certainly quite a few. And maybe it's the ones who'd had a few drinks and weren't really following the game as close as they could have done, and we're just thinking he's messed up again. Where I don't think he necessarily did do, but it was noticeable and it was shocking. Really, I don't think I've ever heard a player singled out for booing like that. If a player misses a shot in front of goal, misses a fucking open goal, they don't get booed, do they? They might get a bit of criticism, but it was quite noticeable. But what was equally as commendable was how quickly the rest of the North turned on the ones who were booing. And excuse the language, but there was a chorus of if you booed, I can't remember if you booed your keeper, if you booed Pico, you were a cunt. But basically, that was the chant that went up.
Him dropping a C-bomb, it's like Nappers.
I know. It's like Nappers. I might get a full-time job at Blackpool. Nappers has got one at Fleetwood. Hasn't done him any harm, has it?
Nappers isn't your secret love child, is he, Tim? Don't tell Mrs. Tim.
But it was So literally, that was the chant that went up afterwards, and that shut them up.
No, Tim, you're wrong. It was, as Dennis has just said in the chat, it was the first goal when all that booing happened. I do remember that.
No,
I'm sure it was the first.
I recall
it was the first. No, it was the first. It was definitely the first.
If you watch it back, I was watching
maybe it was both.
You can hear it. You can hear it after the second goal goes.
I didn't hear it after the second.
It was more the second than the first. But there was a groundswell of we're not having that, and that was good. It was good that the people in the North stood up for him because he needed it. And we've heard Bruce stick up for him, probably say more about sticking up for him than he's ever done about any player that I can remember. But it's not often you get a player singing out for as much criticism that he's had, and some of it, to be fair, has been justified. I'm not saying that some of the criticism justified, but booing him in game, what way at Exeter that didn't happen. He went the other way. They got everybody almost like overly went behind him to give him some encouragement. So if he did anything, it was like he got a load of people sort of praising him or whatever. And there was even a bit of a chant went up for him just after that as well, which was quite nice to hear.
I think it was the in-game thing, as you mentioned, Tim, wasn't it? People, boo at half-time, boo at full-time, but to boo during the game,
ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. It's three league games in as well.
Well, irrespective. I mean, Christ, somebody mentioned before about Lee Evans being the worst player this season. We've seen a lot of shit players, quite frankly. I've never booed any of them in-game at all. I'm not a big booer anyway, but you can give them a bit of flack and all the rest of it. But yeah, at that particular point, I mean, talk about kick a man when he's down. It's just not the right time or to do anything like that, is it? But anyway, it's like Sim says, the majority drowned out the minority, fortunately, and that was sort of nipped in that particular bud. We'll see how long for, shall we?
Well, there's a few people making comments about, he's got to earn some respect, but I get all that. and the jury is 100% out on him. But you can say, well, you haven't got my respect, so I'm not really going to clap you. But it was the overt booing, and somebody said, well, was it to do with the foul on Brown? But for me, it wasn't. It was very much directed. That was the impression we had. It's very much directed at Peacock Farrell, because I think in the particularly in the A and B block, I'm not sure how much the sin of the foul on Brown, but it didn't seem to be going at the keeper, and nobody in the north thought it was directed at the referee. They thought it was directed at Peacock Farrell. So.
When in Block D, I kind of thought I heard it, but then I just thought it'd be so ridiculous to be doing that. I kind of brushed it off at the time. I kind of, my brain didn't process it as booing. So
there was some in C doing it, not many, but it seemed to be more. Listen, I'm not. It seems to be more A and B. It seems to be more A and B. But it wasn't like a concerted group. It was just various ones all around the block. But, I just never heard that before, and I don't want to hear it again, to be honest.
Okay, we thought we'd seen everything in this first half, but you ain't seen nothing yet when Blackpool FC are concerned. Said to my sister, she was like, go and get him with more swan. I said, no, don't be saying that. Don't be saying that. I said, this ain't over by a long shot. Then a minute later, now Ennis rush of blood to the head, playing like the way he does, 100% effort, trying to get the ball. He's lunged at their centre half, missed the ball, taken the man. Looked bad in real time. Old school, 10 years ago, you're getting a yellow and a stern telling off from the ref. These days, it's a straight red, unfortunately. But I thought the ref could have thought about it for at least more than 0.3 nanoseconds. As soon as that tackle's gone in, you see him going straight to his pocket. He couldn't wait to get that red card out. It's like he's got them for his birthday and he couldn't wait to use them.
Yeah. I mean, it was, like you say, past times, it wasn't even a yellow card, was it? I didn't think it was a red at the game, and I've looked back at it since. I understand why he's given it a red, but I still don't think it's a red in my eyes. He didn't. It was just a typical centre forwards tackle, as far as I was concerned. He didn't lunge in like, his feet 2 feet off the ground or anything like that. But it's what they call reckless these days, isn't it? And that's what it is. It's just reckless, but it's not. It's a tough one, isn't it? We'll have more decisions like this all through the season, I'm sure. And as I was looking at the football highlights of the AFL just earlier on today, and there was 3 or 4 red cards that could easily have just been yellowed this weekend.
George Byers was one, wasn't it?
George Byers was one. There was a lot of Bristol Rovers, I remember. He got sent off, and there was another one that escapes my memory. But there was 4 red cards. There was a lad at Plymouth who looked like he went down, and it was a penalty, and he got a second yellow. That was it. And you just think, again, shit refs again, ole, isn't it? And you just think, if they were just more consistent, about the rules, and maybe that's their directive these days. You don't know what they're told from up above as well. I just think it's harsh, and I know he's our player and all the rest of it, and we're going to miss him, obviously. But I understand why it was a red, but I still maintain, maybe I'm.
Are we not appealing?
No, it's gone through. Yeah, it's gone through 3 matches now.
Yeah, so when you see it back, I can see why the ref gave it, to be fair, and I think Bruce could at the time. But I think when you see it back in slow motion, he actually goes over Ennis's body, doesn't he, more than his foot? But then makes a meal of it. So, but that's the nature of the game. If you put yourself in compromising situations, the frustrating thing is he was playing really well. I think we're all thinking, geez, he's going to get a hat trick or whatever today, and he was playing that well. Bloxham's played a great ball into him, and he's spun Annie, and he's just in the zone. He ain't got a bad bone in his body, that guy. So there's no way he's gone in with intent there. But it happened, and he was very apologetic afterwards, I noticed. And he's such a great personality as well as a player. I think we're going to miss him. It's frustrating. We're not going to have him for Bolton, particularly, I think. but it is what it is. I was hoping that we might appeal and it might get reversed, but
it's bizarre, isn't
I
it?
see why they haven't bothered.
Yeah, it's bizarre, really, that there isn't any sort of tolerance in regards to the actual bans. So I mean, 1 match to 3 matches. I mean, why do they not do 2 matches for something? And 3 matches to me is like absolutely. He's smashing somebody with a forearm in the head. That's the sort of 3-match ban you get, not just a reckless tackle. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't write the rules, unfortunately, but it just seems a hard one, really, to take, doesn't it? Really.
Just want to address this comment from not Mike, from Dennis, because I noticed this. Their number 5 had already been booked and should have been booked for a second yellow for the push in the Ennis in the back. He absolutely, it was really, really aggressive push on the back that jolted Ennis on his way out. I don't know if on his way, Ennis just accepted he was walking on the pitch, and he really aggressively pushed Ennis in the back, jolted him forward. And I don't know if you noticed, Ash Fletcher went absolutely berserk at something. I thought he was going berserk at the red card, but he was going berserk at what he'd seen. And if the refs, why is the ref not sending him off as well for that?
Well, there you go. Maybe, it's the inconsistency that I've just mentioned about, perhaps, the fact is that had Ennis been a different sort of personality, he could have milked it and gone down himself like a sack of crap, like their centre half did when Ennis tackled him. And if he'd have done that, then maybe it would have brought it to the attention of the referee or the liner or whoever. But he didn't. He just went off probably in a state of shock, didn't he? And that was the end of that. But it's a fair point that Dennis has made, really. But that's the officials for you. What can I say? Yeah.
Block-headed Joseph Lowe is his name.
Oh, he's a lad from Wicken, wasn't he? I think a few were after.
Yeah. It's a bit like Harry Maguire. What shitter. Anyway, so my first reaction was the refs ruined the game. What a game it was up to that point. It was one of the best games I've seen in years. And the refs ruined it with applying the letter of the law, perhaps there. But it was just a case, Tim, of us making it through to half-time with a lead intact and then regrouping. I think we did quite well to get to that point.
Yeah, well, Fletch also pulled his hammy at the same time, didn't he? Maybe as well he's remonstrating over the push on
put more effort into that.
Yeah. So he, we made what I felt was quite an intelligent substitution at the time, which was to bring Morgan on, and I'll say something about that in a second, and put Bloxham up front, which I could see that working for us because we needed to get bodies behind the ball. And it was interesting when you listen to Albie afterwards when he's in the change room. I think he said sometimes it's where they would play you back in slowly, and you might get 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then you might get. He said if sometimes you just chucked in, you just get on with it, don't you? And you don't actually need to be brought back in very slowly. It's just overly cautious where needs must as it happened, and what a fantastic 50 odd minutes or so he had. So we held out to half time. I think it was important that we did, because that obviously gives Steve Bruce the opportunity to actually think about how he wants to play it. And it was interesting when you're hearing him. He knew Bloxham couldn't last the whole game, but it was about managing him and then managing what we do afterwards. But I think it was important to get to half time so we could actually regroup and take stock of where we were at and how we were going to best go about defending the second half.
How would you, Matt, were you not surprised? Were you surprised at the lack of changes at half time? And B, were you saying, I'll snap your hand off for a point at that stage, as I did?
Well, in regards to the changes, no, I wasn't surprised. What I was surprised that it was Morgan, because obviously 24 hours earlier, sorry, I don't think anybody was really had a clue whether he was going to be in the squad or not. So he's obviously, got Lazarus sort of tendencies when it comes to recovering from injury, which is great. But I thought he was going to put another midfielder in, but who it was going to be. Well, yeah, exactly. I just didn't think it was going to be Morgan, because you just felt like it was too early in the game, even though it was like approaching half time.
What a difference he made, though, Morgan.
He's got. I mean, we've said it before, haven't we? That he and Honeyman, sorry, they've got legs. They're all over. They're like two little whippets in the middle of the park, aren't they? Yeah, just snapping away all the time, and that's probably what most of us probably thought the two, if we're going to play two in midfield, would actually be, if we're being honest, because they've got that mobility in them. However, the fact that we had to put an extra body in midfield made us so much more difficult to get through. And they worked their absolute nuts off for the next 45 minutes or so, didn't they? And would I have taken a point at half time? I think probably most of us would have said, I think most of us would have thought, well, we're never going to keep a clean sheet in the second half, because we haven't done so far this year. So why are we going to do it now? But as it happens, like I said, the work rate and just it was what we want out of players, isn't it? As fans, you just want 100%, but they gave 100+%, didn't they? It was just magnificent, really. I thought, rear guard action at its best, and we still had a little bit of a threat on the break with Hamilton and Bloxham. So we weren't completely, 10 men behind the ball all the time. There was a little bit of something about us as well when we did get the odd chance to break away. But yeah, it was so good, and Honeyman, and in particular, is just so good, so good. So glad he's at the club. I mean, everyone's saying, he's 31, he's past. Is he bollocks? He looks like he's got 5 years left in him at this rate. He looks such a good player.
And when you hear him speak, if you go, it's on the Tangerine TV, where they're just doing a bit of stuff in the change room. He's very articulate. He clearly knows the game. Listen, he's played some good standard, hasn't he? He knows the game. He's saying the right things as a captain. He's engaging with the other players on a very personal level. You can see in the changing room, and what he's like ideal captain material. It's chalk and cheese with Evans, because Evans clearly didn't relish the responsibility. He just he needs to focus on his own game, where Honeyman seems to have just taken to it like a duck to water. I mean, I can't see him taking the captain's armband off him as long as he's fit.
No, absolutely.
And also the master of comedy shithousery, not just shithousery, comedy shithousery. Who saw him with that little?
Oh, it was so funny.
Trotty run to take
the Ministry of Funny Walks.
Oh, it reminded me of.
I thought he was auditioning for walking football.
Don't sign him up, Tim. He's already under contract. No poaching.
It was the what was it? Peter Kay's dad running, wasn't it? That was it. He just never move anywhere.
Sierra's gone. It was like,
it's so funny. Yeah, but that's it. He's proper pro, wasn't he? That's what it's all about when you say proper shithousery. Giving the illusion that he was running to the referee. Great.
He's taking the piss out of the ref at the same time, wasting time, getting the Huddersfield fans wound up, getting the Huddersfield players wound up, and putting a brilliant corner in. Is there anything he can't do?
Oh dear. Tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
Oh God. We're obviously not going to talk about incidents in the second half. Not a lot happened apart from the mesmerising game management from Steve Bruce. Tim, this is where a manager of Steve Bruce's experience and years really comes in. He managed that second half to an absolute T. Switched up at times, just had CJ running channels. And I think we went to like 5 in midfield at one point just to see the game out. And
well, he said if you go again, Tangerines TV is really worth watching because he's talking. He said we went through. What did we play? Did we play 4-4-1? Did we play 4-5-0? And I think we did it all, didn't we, during that game? I think we ended up with Honeyman playing the most forward position when CJ gets pulled back into midfield, and he's just managing it and changing it as the game went on, which was
like fantastic. A game of chess. It was like a master chess player organising his pieces.
Yeah, and we could talk. Somebody's mentioned the comments about Brown. Brown had a fantastic game overall, but Coulson didn't have the best first half, but he was incredible the second half. He was just like a man. Well, there's about half a dozen of them were like men possessed, weren't they? Going all through the team, and everybody was putting the body on the line. And I think part of it was down to the 11th man, which was the crowd, because it's a long time since I've been to Bloomfield Road where I felt there's been such a connect between the team and the players, and it could be season defining, I think, because there's some new lads who've come in, and again, when you listen to them talk, or go on that, if you go on the Tangerine TV bit, what they're saying is we came here because of the atmosphere. That's one of the reasons we joined Blackpool, and they've seen it. They've seen probably one of the best examples you're going to get of the team and the fans being as one. And it's a bit of a cliche sometimes, but I genuinely believe that on Saturday. I think we helped them get over that finishing line and help them put in that extra 2-3% that sometimes you need just to get to that ball or just to close down something.
But equally, Tim, when you see players like Honeyman in particular, Coulson and Morgan and Blocksmith, we've mentioned, they're all throwing the bodies in, aren't they? Really giving it 100%. And that it feeds both ways, doesn't it? We get encouraged by all of that. They get encouraged by us, and then it's just the potion, the recipe's there, isn't it? And it just sort of works its little magic, doesn't it, for that half hour or whatever it was. And like I said, that's what pushes them over the line in many games, that we've been in the past, certainly. And hopefully these lads now, and I'll mention Honeyman again for the umpteenth time, but he must be infectious for the players to play with. He's the one that he's the spark. This is how you've got to be, lads. You've got to be basically putting the effort in like I am. And if you're not, I'm sure he's old enough and whatever enough to tell them in the dressing room or even on the pitch. So it was just so good. One thing I forgot to mention, because we talked about the lineup and we mentioned Bruce earlier on being a tactical. One thing I noticed that he switched, I think I'm right in saying, he switched Casey and ihekweo around. So Casey was on the right hand side of the centre halves previously, and I think he put him on the left hand side. So I think that's what he did. I noticed there was a little sort of change, and I just wondered if that sort of helped with a bit more cohesion at the back. But yeah, it was that aside. It was a masterclass of keeping a lead and shithousery and 100% effort and everything else you could imagine. It was great.
Just about the atmosphere. 2 things from me on that. Number 1, my ears. It was my right ear was actually hurting. It was that loud. When you see kids with ear defenders on, I had to close off my right ear. I could feel it ringing. And then I noticed that my watch was buzzing. It was giving a decibel warning on my Apple Watch. Never seen that before either.
Wow.
It was unreal. It was.
Sure, it wasn't your heart monitor. You weren't flatlining or anything, were you? Definitely all right.
A man of my superior fitness and physique, Matt, that's never going to happen. Sorry.
No, that's why I've got a heart monitor and you haven't.
I in no way get halfway up the North Steps and going, oh, Jesus, I'm not row yet.
I'll tell you what, these safe standing rails are good for a few people hoisting themselves up, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, God.
All they need is some crampons and they've got the full set.
Yeah, those walking sticks that you see hackers using. The likes of Nick the Lake Smith using.
That's it.
One scare at the death, though, wasn't there? We were thinking, job done. And this guy, what was his name? Castledine, fired one just wide and it brushed the side netting. And I felt sick I felt a bit of sick in the back of my mouth. But luckily, it had just gone wide.
I thought Peacock Farrell had actually saved it originally, but he didn't, did it? Because it was a goal kick.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That was one. What was that? The 92nd minute or whatever.
It's the only real shot they had. If you look at the graphic,
Yeah.
look at it. One shot on target.
Yeah.
Don't know which one that was because it wasn't that one, was it? So,
oh no, it can't have been. Yeah, you're right.
Mm. I think he did have one saved in his midriff. It was just black, definitely
Standard
one that I saved. Yeah.
But to be down to 10, I mean, obviously, the 84% possession for those who are listening on the audio pod, and their XG was only 0.55. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we had 15. Whenever are you ever at home with 15% possession? But
30 passes to there, 320. Critch should be creaming himself at those stats. I was looking at a map of the UK. I'm still undecided to go to Mansfield or not. We can make it after work. There's a place called Critch nearby Mansfield. I don't know if anyone's noticed. There's loads of bypasses around it. A million.
Yeah.
Whoa, yeah, it was breathless stuff. I don't know if anyone else came out of that ground physically exhausted after what they'd seen.
It's the first time I've come out croaky for a long time. And that's always a good sign of a good game. If you're a bit croaky afterwards, and then any excuse for a bit of liquid refreshment, of course. But yeah, definitely much needed after that. Everyone's on a high, aren't they? And it's one game, but you just think, if you can do that, and if you can do it with 11 men, and how much time we got to talk about Mansfield tomorrow night. You just hope that we can back it up with another good performance and result as well. More importantly, probably away from home, we don't get an awful lot at Mansfield in recent years, I don't think. But if we can back a good home win up with another good performance and another good result, then people start getting giddy again all of a sudden, don't they? And anything can happen in this league. I don't think there's anybody out there. I mean, Stevenage are top, for God's sake. That says it all so far, doesn't it?
You're right there, Matt. We've got to back this up. But let's revel in the performance for a few more minutes and do that in the form of giving our player ratings, because I think a lot of players out there deserve lots of praise for what happened on Saturday, or do they? Tim, start with Peacock Farrell.
Is it me we're starting with? Did you say?
Yeah, your name's Tim, isn't it? Well, it's not actually.
I missed that bit.
Andy, go to Peacock Farrell, please.
6.
Matt, let's go right to left. Brown.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I say definitely his best game. It's difficult to know how good a right back or whatever he is. He certainly wasn't the other night against Port Vale, I didn't think. But he certainly put it all in and left nothing out there. So I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it? Do you give 8s out for defence? I suppose you do, don't you? Really?
I'm 8 in my head. 8+.
Yeah, I'm going 8.
I think he's slightly better than that person.
Yeah. His vote, though. Didn't use the FPRS. Tim, are you going to use the FPRS on Michael Ihekweo? The jury is still out for me.
Well, but listen, he and Casey formed a very, very strong back line there. Did the dirty work, I think would be the way I describe it on Saturday. So I'm going to go with an 8+.
Ollie, Casey, Matt.
Yeah, I'll go the same. I'm not saying we're looking at the next best centre-half partnership that we've ever seen at Bloomfield Road, far from it. But, you know, they just were as solid as you want them to do. Whether it came off the shins or whatever when they were clearing it, nobody cared. It was just a matter of getting in the way, wasn't it? So 8+ for me as well.
Hayden Coulson, Tim, fabulous performance considering he's been spending the night under the pier again.
He does like a bit of a hobo, doesn't he? He's a bit home on London Road. When I go for my lunch, I see you looking like. So I was really impressed, particularly with his second half performance and the way that he took the pressure off for some time. So I think we need to just a little bit of balance, but I'm going to go 9-. I think because he wasn't. Don't do minus very often, but he didn't have the best first half, but he had an exceptional second half for me.
Nearly scored as well. Volley, sort of shanked slightly wide. Okay, let's go right to left across the midfield. Matt, Tom Bloxham, class performance from him while he lasted.
Yeah, he still looks like he's short of a 90 minutes capability performance, but you know it was a solid 7-ish. 7, I'll go 7. You think it should be a lot higher?
Harsh.
My eyebrows are raised for the benefit of the audio pod. Right, let's move on. That's your score. Lee Evans, Tim, a bit dealing with a bit of criticism, but he's answered his critics in the perfect way with that thunder bastard of a goal.
It's a thunderbolt, isn't it? And you know, and he was in. You know, when you look through, you know, he was involved in the third goal as well. It was his ball across, if I remember rightly, wasn't it? So I'm going to go 8+.
Okay, across the midfield, Matt, George Honeyman. If anyone used to watch Red Dwarf when Ace Rimmer appeared, they always used to go, "What a guy!"
Well, if he'd have scored, then would have been off the charts, wouldn't we? Let's be honest. Just because he didn't score, I'm not going to give him a 10, but it was a 9+. He was just all over the place. Proper captain material, isn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, he's got legendary status in the future if he keeps going at this rate.
10+ from Mike Blackpool, 10 from Bisons.
I'd have given him higher.
I'd have given him higher.
Matt's bringing us back. He's keeping us real, isn't he, Matt?
I am.
Dave Coleman gave him an 11.
New category.
The Coleman player rating system. Those Coleman ratings are mustard. Anyway, moving on. CJ Hammer. CJ did a good job. Not spectacular. At fault, I think, for the Gooch goal. But he put a good shift in, CJ. Took the pressure off.
He did. I must admit, and Bison's in the comments earlier was saying that Bloxham can't play up top, but there was a couple of times in the second half where I think if Bloxham had been in that position rather than CJ when we took Bloxham off, I think we'd have got more out of those scenarios. I'm not saying we'd necessarily have scored, but I ended up being a little bit frustrated at CJ. And it was one way, instead of just hitting it, he cut inside and you lose, you lose the momentum a little bit when you do that. But nevertheless, he worked hard. 8.
Niall Ennis, Matt, on the 40 minutes he was on the pitch. 2 goals, can't ask any more, can you?
No, 2 goals and a sending off. I don't think I've ever sort of scored somebody who's done that ever. I mean, while he was on the pitch, obviously he was really good, but then he got sent off the pitch. So I think I'd have to give him I don't know.
Give him an 8.
7, yeah, give him an 8. Why not?
Got us a brace.
Yeah.
Ash Fletcher, Tim, a bit anonymous, subbed off on 41 with a hamstring problem, but apparently he's back in the running for the game tomorrow. So.
Yeah, normally you have hamstring problem. You're out for a while, aren't you? So, but maybe they ultimately call. They feel anything, they bring them straight off, don't they? I suspect it was more tactical than hamstring, to be honest. But 7. He was involved in. He did a nice little 1-2 for.
He did. He does these things,
doesn't
doesn't he? He does nothing all game,
he?
and he'll do something that leads to a goal or scores a goal.
Yeah. Listen,
I like.
I'd rather he didn't start at the moment, but when you do then go back through the games, he does seem to be involved a bit in some of the good stuff without you actually realising it.
I like the way he reacted to Ennis getting pushed in the back as well. It's good. One for all and all for one mentality there. Steve Bruce, manager ratings. We've got to do this. As I said, absolute masterclass in game management from Steve Bruce. Tim. Matt, sorry, let's start with you.
Well, yeah, I was going to say just special mentions also to Morgan, and I thought Ashworth did really well.
Oh, yeah, Morgan. Yeah, let's rate Morgan. He's played.
I mean, I'll give Morgan, considering it was his first game out, I'll give him a 9 comfortably.
Definitely.
And Ashworth was more of a cameo appearance, but I thought he did really well and got stuck in and showed that he's, maybe grown up a little bit in Scotland last season, perhaps. So, there might be a future for him just yet. Who knows? But going back to Steve Bruce, yeah, I mean, in the circumstances, he got everything right, didn't he? Picked the right back that we probably didn't think was going to be the right back, switched the centre halves around. I'm sure I was right in that. Put Honeyman back in the centre and got everything right when we were down to 10 men. So, and it's not his fault we're down to 10 men. So I guess it has to be a 10, pretty much, really.
Yeah. I think unbelievably, Tim, there's been talk of Bruce getting the sack 2 or 3 games in. Very slight flames of that starting to come, and Steve Bruce has got a big bucket of water and chucked it all over that, and it instantly extinguished with this managerial performance.
And if you've watched that 7-minute segment at the end of the game, it sort of follows in. It's almost like when they did it with Graham Taylor one time, it sort of like showed what an idiot he was. It just really showed Bruce kicking every ball and thinking through things, and every emotion. He's gone through every emotion in that 7-minute period with this crescendo of noise behind him from the Blackpool fans. I'd really commend anybody watch that if they haven't already. And I think it was a tactical masterclass in to limit the opposition to what, and that shot on goal was a P-roller of some description, because I don't remember Peacock Farrell having to make a save. To limit a team for what's nearly 60 minutes, who are a good side. Listen, Huddersfield are no, the no mugs, are they? To limit them to one shot and dodge it, if it was, that is incredible. We probably had, we could have had a couple of chances ourselves, to be honest, as well. But yeah, I thought he did it right. He changed plays at the right time. I was a bit frustrated when Bloxham went off, but he's explained that afterwards. He's because of the nature of his injury, they knew he could only really do 60 minutes, so they played to that and then made the changes afterwards. And I don't think you can ask any more of your manager. I think he won that game for us. Is the long and the short of it, and maybe the sending off won it for us as well. Maybe that's what galvanised us, where otherwise it was 50-50. The game could have gone either way. But the reality was, we had one job to do, didn't we? Which was to stop them scoring. And where we've given away that many stupid goals in the last 2 league games, we seem to have found our mojo when it came to defending. So I don't think there's if you can't ask any more of your manager, so it's a 10.
Yeah. Galvanised, the key word, Tim. Hopefully this is the, I was saying it's a bit silly saying turning point of your season, 2 or 3 games in, but hopefully it's something that's going to reignite or ignite our season. Not reignite, it's not started yet. Ignite it. Just man of the match quickly around the room.
Honeyman.
Coulson got it. Coulson got man of the match. I couldn't believe that. Yeah. Coulson got man of the match. That was a strange decision.
If I'm going to defend the selection of that, I don't think he was man of the match. I think he was probably 4th or 5th down the pecking order. But he did have an incredible second half, and of course that's right in front of where the sponsors are as well. So I think he put his body on the line. He was throwing himself into tackles. But Honeyman was man of the match by a country mile. And even though he was only on for 40 minutes, Morgan wasn't far behind him. Brown was exceptional at right back for me. I thought he had an incredible game. So I'd probably say Coulson was third or fourth down the pecking order for me. But great to see so many players in But I don't think I was going to say so many players in contention, but there was nobody in contention really because one player was just imperious. He was by far and away the most standout player on the pitch, and he shouldn't really be playing in League One, but he is. And let's just be glad we got hold of him because he's worth every single penny that we're paying him in his wages.
And let's be glad that Albie Morgan's back, and to see those two linking up in the centre of midfield, possibly is Evans going to hold his place for the next game, which is.
Well, this is what it's all about now, isn't it, John? They've got one or two players come back from injury. If Imre's back in the next week or two, if Horsfall's back in the next week or so, it gets to be interesting, doesn't it? And there's only 11 players that can go on the pitch, obviously, but interesting to see what happens tomorrow, of course.
This is Mansfield away. We're talking about tomorrow. We're going to pick our team quickly before we go. We're over an hour. Nick would be having kittens at this stage, 1 hour 11. So, well, he's not here, so let's relax. Let's pick our team for Mansfield. Tim, start with you. Bailey, Peacock in goal, I think.
Yeah, I think the whole of the back five is going to be exactly the same as it was on Saturday, to be honest. I'd be gobsmacked if he changes that.
Okay, so Heldon, Casey on the left. Matt, you say finish the game on the right? Yeah. Equaliser on the right. Right, central midfield area. This is going to be very interesting. George Honeyman obviously goes straight in, and it's going to have to be a pick of Albie Morgan or Lee Evans. So what we're thinking, gents? Who do we want?
Well, I think I'll pick Lee Evans anyway. He scored a goal. He looked a lot more like the Lee Evans that we had 18 months ago, whatever it was. So I think it'd be hard to drop him, especially when somebody's coming back from injury as well.
Look what MB's just said. I think we need to get three of Honeyman, Evans, and Morgan into the midfield together. It's
not comes back to what I said before. I think who we've got suits a 4-3-3 a little bit more than it suits a 4-4-2.
Well, with the potential injury to Ash Fletcher, maybe that's what we should go with.
I mean, we'll carry on and then we'll see where we are with things. But I think Lee Evans goes in it next to Honeyman.
See, your other alternative, you play Honeyman in like number 10 role almost and just play him off the striker.
Yeah.
And then you can have Evans and Albie in the centre of midfield, couldn't you? But one thing we are not doing is putting Honeyman out wide.
No.
I agree with David Cole, but I would go 4-3-3 on this.
I think this is
that
4-2-3-1 with Honeyman in the 10.
This is the dilemma that we've sort of got, though, isn't it? Because Bruce has come out and said I'm 4-4-2, like it or lump it. He did change a little bit last year. He went 3-5-2 on occasion and probably 4-3-3 in certain matches, maybe. But I mean, I just think it's still a game too early for Morgan. He's run his nuts off for 55, 60 minutes or whatever it was on Saturday, and I just don't think he'll start on tomorrow night. But when you're looking further forward, 2 or 3 games down the line, when everyone's 100% fit, I mean, that's not a bad 3, is it?
Yeah, I think we should go with this 4-2-3-1. I think that's the formation to go with. Yeah. We don't want to get overrun in midfield. So let's go with that. Blocks him on the right, CJ on the left.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd go with CJ personally, but
I think sorry, I'm just getting my old Sunday morning manager head on here. It's again about managing Bloxham as well, isn't it? Is he going to play him another 60 minutes, or is he going to say, right, well, you've got maybe 35, 40, 50 minutes in you, rather than...
I prefer to see him starting, Matt, to be honest. And then
I get that. I get that, but I just wonder, it's how a lot of this is they have all the monitors on them that you could throw a stick at, don't they, these days? So
he didn't look like he was carrying an injury when he was throwing himself into tackle.
No, this is true. Did he?
Yeah.
I want to see Equaliser, and I think he should be given a run. He's looked really dangerous when he's come on.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking on the
left. I think Equaliser on the left and CJ on for Bloxham after
Yeah, that could work.
The tried and trusted 60-minute mark.
No, not Hansen then.
No.
I think I'd go with Bay.
Who won that? Or are you saying CJ?
No.
And Dale Taylor. Obviously, it's a perfect game for him to come in now, isn't it, with Dale Ennis on the bench? Let's see what the young man can do.
He's actually really got no choice other than to play him, has he? Unless Fletcher's all of a sudden Lazarus-like rises off the treatment table.
I mean, he could juggle 90 minutes out of probably Taylor, Bloxham and Fletcher, all three of them, couldn't he? But yeah, I think it'd just be like for like. Hopefully, he's absolutely chomping at the bit, isn't he? And if he's got 90 minutes in him rather, then hopefully we'll see the best of it. And then, you know, if he scores 3 against Mansfield and 2 against Plymouth and 2 against Bolton, then, you know, and then Ennis comes back. Oh my God, who'd be a manager? But,
nice headache to have, though, Matt.
That does look like a team that could get a result tomorrow night, though.
Doesn't it? Doesn't it? Liking that. So, the final question before we go, match predictions. As I said before, we've got a patron supporters predictions league going. All the presenters are predicting. It's good to go up against us. Tim got it horribly wrong. What are you going to say for the Mansfield game, Tim?
Well, I'm going to have to. Well, I hope I don't get it horribly wrong with this. I'm going for a 2-0 win.
Matt?
I've been conservative in my scoring. I'll be conservative tomorrow, and I'll go for a score 1-1 draw.
I think
you're not doing the polls, you know.
I know. Are they still around?
That and Spot the Ball, sadly no longer with us.
Yeah. There you go.
I think there's a lot of firepower and danger in that team, and I think we've got far too much for Mansfield, and I think we're going to beat our Mansfield hoodoo and win the game 3-1 with a brace from Dale Taylor and George Honeyman. Free kick. There you go. Right, great show, gentlemen. 1 hour 17 has simply flown by. We probably won't be doing a pod after the Mansfield game, so it'll be after Plymouth, I think, the weekend after. I am away, so I may be a complete nerd and take a bit of equipment with me and carry on the positivity after that.
Not in Devon, are you?
I'm in John the Lakes, Aspinall. I'm going to the Lakes for a week. Not with Nick, though.
That's good to hear.
I don't want him limiting my time in the pub to an hour and having a go at me if we go over 60 minutes.
I don't think you'll have that problem with Nick in the Lakes.
No, definitely not. No.
The weather looks fantastic next week, John. So
right. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the weather, Tim. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on the stream. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for watching. And up the pool. Come on, we are back.
Been involved in 2. Can he make 3? Not on this occasion. Taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try. What a goal! Oh!